Thanks for tuning in to another edition of Prime Sports Speed as we talk IndyCar racing. It is back after a month hiatus. 6 races to go before a champion is crowned in Long Beach in late September, Eric. And then we have, 3 or 4 straight weeks of racing?
Yeah, we got 3 weeks now, a couple weeks off, 3 weeks to close it out, and then they're done for the year. As weird as that sounds, we're already there.
That's it. So, and this inaugural race, the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix in Nashville. So it's a street race, and anytime you get a street race, you got to just wonder about the longevity of what's going on here. Is it going to wind up being, a one contract kind of deal, or is it possible because of Nashville, because of the way it is downtown, because of the way just, the area is, could this be something that could actually end up being long term?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question right now. That was in my 5 burning questions today that I had out. Is talking to drivers, talking to people in the industry with how long can this race sustain on this schedule? Usually they're 2 to 3 year deals. And in the past, a lot of street courses fall off after that initial contract. Baltimore recently comes to mind, Houston. Putting on a street course race is extremely difficult. It's cost a lot of money. In order to make that money back, ticket sales are a little bit more expensive. You've got to get a sponsor. You got to have a lot of people with money invest into this. And I saw a report by Adam Stern from the Sports Business Journal yesterday saying that this year alone, you got all this hype, and it feels like the Indy 500. It's got a lot of hype around this. There's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of people going to it. They're losing money this year. That's to me like, that didn't start off well. If they lose money year over year, what makes them think year 4 they're going to come back? It doesn't matter if the place is packed and has all this pageantry and a lot of fun. If it doesn't make money, why would Nashville bring it back? And already year 1, it's not making money.
But that's normal, though. I mean, in any business.
It's completely normal.
Yeah.
It is. And that doesn't count. I mean, they could have a lot of food sales and a lot of souvenirs. And how, they're projecting they're not going to make money is basically what it is. I mean, they capped the ticket sales. Could they have gotten more? Yes. They just had to cap it so everybody has a good experience. It's like 60,000, which is a hell of a crowd for a street course. So we'll see. I mean, maybe next year you can get 100-some thousand people in there. They'll see, but they've got to make money at the end of the day. That Baltimore was a fun event. I went there twice. I mean, that was a fun place to go, and it was gone because it just didn't make money. Now, can Nashville? Yeah, they've got a lot of people behind. Dale Jr., Justin Marks, Justin Timberlake. I mean, they got a lot of big machine. This is the record label for a bunch of big country stars. They're doing everything right. They're putting on a party. There's a lot of people that are going here. I mean, you hear them talk about a lot of people that are going to be there that are probably not IndyCar fans. That's what the street course is. It's a party atmosphere with people showing up that probably don't care about the sport outside of there. They're just, hey, it's a cool event downtown. Let's go. Maybe we'll capture some fans. But here's what concerns me too: is it's going to be like near 95 degrees on Sunday. It's a street course. There's not a lot of shade. It's going to be hot. It's going to be how many of these people that don't care about racing, like, man, I just baked out there. I spent $115 to sit here. I'm going home. And what makes them think they want to come back? So you've got to hope the weather works out. The racing, street course races, it's hard to put on a good show because it's a street course race. There's not a lot of passing. There's not a lot of action. But granted, there's people there that they're not there to see the race either. They're there to party. So you kind of balance that out. And you hope all of this together comes in by year 3. They're making money and can be back on the schedule for the next contract. Sure. And that's where a lot of races fall off.
And maybe they change their schedule.
And that's the thing. You also don't want to throw this race around like, here, it's August this weekend. You don't want to go next year and be like, oh, now it's in July. And then you come back, now it's in September. You got to have date equity. Everybody here is doing the right thing. You got a good investment team. This is where I think this maybe stands out from the rest. Obviously, Justin Marks, he's a racer. He owns Trackhouse Racing. You've got Justin Timberlake. You've got Big Machine. You've got a lot of people with money that can help fund this thing. You got the city support. Nashville's turning into a big racing city. I mean, you see what the NASCAR hype and pop and circumstance was when they were at Nashville Super Speedway a couple months now. The SRX series down there. Nashville's coming around that it could become a racing city. You got the backing. You've got a lot of hype. Can you keep it? And if so, yeah, I think this could be, as Mark Miles said yesterday, the Monaco of IndyCar racing. You just feel it. It just feels different. And we'll see if it can happen.
Yeah.
I've seen this story before. I don't want to get too much involved and say, oh, this is going to – I think that was a broad state or an exclamation statement that he made yesterday by saying that, because in 3 years, if it doesn't work out, they're going to come back and be like, remember when Mark Miles said that this was going to be the Monaco and it could be bigger than Long Beach, and then it could flame out. So I've seen this script before. I think they've got everybody good in place. I think this could be a future prestigious event, but I'm not going to put the cart before the wagon. And I want to see a few years of this and be sure the money's there to keep this going.
Well, as far as handicapping the race, there's not a lot we can do since it's first inaugural race. What we can do is just kind of update everything as far as the series and also historical street course racing. So what we do have is still a pretty good ratio of 8 different race winners this year in 10 different races.
Yep.
So let's stop there. Out of the drivers who haven't won yet that are considered top contenders this week, who are they?
Well, I'd say you look at Will Power, because everybody in front of him has already won a race this season. As far as odds, he's got 2 top 5s this year. That doesn't seem like a lot, but he also looked like he's got a lot of bad luck. He should have won Detroit. He was leading with a few laps to go.
Oh, yeah. He couldn't get the car started. Yeah.
Street course. 15 of his 39 career wins are on street courses. He's got 2 top 10s and 3 street course races this year. And like I said, he should have won in Detroit. So it should be 3 for 3. So I would say the top guy that's not won a race this year, including in these odds, would be
at
Will
9-1
plus 900.
Yes.
Yep.
So Will Power is definitely somebody to look at. Okay, who's next?
I would. Out of the guys that haven't won, I'd say Rossi.
He's 14-1.
He's won the last 2 years in Long Beach. He's a good street course racer. He's got 1 top 5 this year, which granted, I know I just said Power only had 2. He's only got 1, but that came in the last race at Mid-Ohio. He's finished in the top 7 3 of his last 4 starts. He's been in the top 10 a lot this year, 6 times. He just hasn't closed that gap to the top 5.
Okay.
Well, it looks like he finally is in a street course race. He's a good street racer. Andretti's always said this is kind of out of the tracks, this is their best package. Colton Herta, we saw win for Andretti, a street course race back in April in St. Pete. So 14-1, yeah, he hasn't won a race this year. We could continue that trend with him. So I like him as probably the second best non-winner.
Are there any other contenders?
I'd look at maybe Ray Hall. He's 16-1,
okay.
7 top 7s in 9 races this year. He's typically good on street courses. He swept Belle Isle in 2017. I'd also look at, Romain Grosjean plus 30 or 35-1. He was in the Fast 6 in both races in Belle Isle. And you also look at, yes, he's a rookie, but everybody is on this track. Nobody's got any experience. He's good at street courses. He's ran him in F1 in Azerbaijan, Monaco. So I'd look at him. And another one, just it's kind of funny that James Hinchcliffe is 130-1. Yes, his best finish is 14th. It's a street race. Everyone knows that I would throw money his way just because you don't have to throw much his way. 8 winners this year, 10 races.
Sure.
He's got talent. We know he can drive. He's with Andretti. And you get him for these odds, and it's like, here's the other factor with this race. There's some very tight sections of this racetrack where I feel like there could be some carnage, and it may flip the field.
That's how you're going to get some parity in the race.
Carnage. Do I feel like he's going? Yes, and do I feel like he's going to win straight up? Like if it's a straight up race, there's not a lot of carnage. The field's not going to get flipped by a fluke caution. No, I don't think he will. But there has been those tendencies that could happen, and you're getting an Andretti driver, a guy who's won on street courses in the past, for 130-1. It wouldn't hurt.
Put a buck on him.
Throw a couple bucks. Yeah. The other thing I thought, according to these odds, I don't know if I would think he's going to win, but it's the disrespect almost they're showing to Jimmy Johnson. Cody freaking Ware, the NASCAR back marker, is running in this race, and he has better odds, almost double the better the odds, or half
Why
the
is
odds,
that?
as Jimmy Johnson. I don't
Does he
know.
have more IndyCar experience?
He's made one IndyCar start all season for his whole career. He was 50 or 500 to 1, and Jimmy Johnson's 800 to 1. Last I
That's
looked.
not
And
good,
Jimmy
Jimmy.
Johnson, no, and he's in a Ganassi car, and he's going to a track that nobody's got experience on. So it's not like he's coming here
Yeah.
and he's like, oh, I'm way behind. And so for those odds, it's like he's in a Ganassi car. Ganassi's got 3 of the top 5 in the points. For those, I mean, throw a dollar or
I
two
don't
his
know
way.
about
And if
that.
he somehow,
You might need to eat something, like a hot dog.
yes, yeah, you never know. You literally never know. So it's like I thought that was interesting, but I think those are the best. I'd say Power, Rossi, Ray Hall, Grosjean. Hunter Ray, you might 50 to 1.
Yeah, well,
He won the second race at Baltimore, but again, he's got some bad luck. I thought Santino Ferrucci was interesting. He's 60 to 1. He's got 4 starts this year, all of them in the top 10, and he's the same odds as his teammate Takuma Sato at 60 to 1.
Yeah, he's had
and
some good
Sato
results.
He had 2 top 10s in his first 6 races this year, but he's got 2 in his last 3 since. And you're on a street course. We've seen what Ray Hall can do. I thought maybe some longer shots. You could throw a package of maybe Ferrucci, Sato, Hinchcliffe, Hunter Ray, and maybe Johnson. There's your 5 of long shots. Because, look, once we get to practice today, you get to qualifying tomorrow, do those odds drop? Because we've seen that happen in IndyCar, that they could have some good sessions, start up front, and now all of a sudden you could be kicking yourself like, well, I had Hinchcliffe at 130 to 1, and all of a sudden he looks fast.
Sure.
He's in the top 10. He qualifies in the top 6, and that's quickly probably going to go to 30 to 1, 20 to 1. It's still good odds, but it's like you could have had him 130 to 1 before. So other than that, there's a lot of parity on street courses too, but the big teams still win there, even though with the parity. You're safe with some of these guys up front too.
There's been 6 straight different winners on street courses. So that
7 drivers in the last 9 overall.
That holds out hope. If you're looking for a driver outside of Dixon, Herta, Ericsson, Award, Newgarden, and Pagano. And so let's go with that. If we're trying to look at someone to break, who would be the top 2 or 3? Who could break that streak? Who could continue that streak? Excuse me.
Of new winners?
Yes.
Like a street Power, because he hasn't won in this time frame.
Power.
He's a Penske driver. Yep. Ray Hall doesn't won in that time frame. Now Rossi's the only one I mentioned that has. You could probably go Hunter Ray, keep it going, the theme going, but past that, I think a lot of the guys that.
What do you mean, Rossi?
Rossi's won in the last 9 races.
If you want to go, no, I'm going to go with 6 straight.
6 straight?
Yeah.
Then go Rossi.
Okay.
I think Rossi's in that. Pretty much the guys you mentioned: Power, Rossi, Ray Hall.
Okay, those top 3 then that are the top contenders: Ray Hall, Power, and Rossi.
And they fit in that trend too.
Okay,
which is nice.
Okay, so they got double trends there. Okay.
Yep.
Yep. All right, and then we take a look at the favorites, and it's not a surprise who the pretty much the heavy favorite is, and that is the hometown kid, Joseph Newgarden. He's got everything going his way. It's almost scary. It's one of those things where I'm thinking of, you know what parlay I'm going to do this weekend? I'm going to do Chase Elliott and Joseph Newgarden.
I was going to say, you could probably, it's either.
I'm going to try to double my money and just go, hey, they're probably both going to dominate and win. And I can get like 8 to 1, 10 to 1 by putting them both together.
Yep. Vegas is basically saying IndyCar race, Joseph for the field, NASCAR race, Chase for the field.
I'll take them both. And it's
it's one of those. It's like, oh, it's intriguing because you're getting double the odds on everybody else. It's like, oh, it's intriguing if I go outside of them, but it's also you could look out Sunday night and be like, I am such a fool. Why did I not
Yeah, well, this
chase?
is after the NASCAR race, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
Yep.
so Elliott wins. Now you
Yep.
have everything on Newgarden. Now you can
Yep.
hedge your bet a little bit.
You could.
So that's
And
that's
Newgarden.
why it works out pretty well, because you can go, okay, if
Yep.
I have now, let's say I put maybe I had $25 on the two of them, maybe you make a couple $100. Now I can spend $100 in hedging bets to like the next 5 or 6 top contenders.
Yep.
Which would be who? Who do you, not just on based on odds, but who are the top guys that if Newgarden doesn't win that you would be likely to hedge your bet with?
Well, we mentioned two, Power and Rossi. I would throw in Pato Award. He's 8-1.
Yeah, that's pretty good
Yes, he
odds.
struggled,
Yeah.
and he struggled coming into this. He was and struggle in quotations. He was ninth and eighth the last two races, top tens. But I've noticed that team has a little bit of deficiency on natural street courses or natural road courses, not street courses. Street courses, Pato's been good. He won in Detroit. You look at St. Pete earlier this year; he was running good, and he got taken out. And then Detroit, he was on a podium both races. St. Pete last year, he was second to Joseph Newgarden.
So
So I mean, you
you're
really look
getting
at it.
8-1 because he's cooled off a little.
Yes, and street courses he hasn't cooled off, and in fact, he looks as good as anybody. And you're getting him 8-1, I think, because he's cooled off on the season. But again, you got to look at the tracks he's cooled off on, and they're looking at what Newgarden's done. So I think they're kind of enticing you to take him at 8-1. And I don't. That's why I'm gonna say it's either Newgarden in the field, and in the field you get somebody like
Yeah.
that. I like that. I think you got Pato, so I'll throw him in the Power and Rossi mix. And I think you got to go with Herta because he's won at St. Pete, which is another street course. And granted, it doesn't continue the trend because we've had 3 different
Sure.
winners by 3 different teams this year, and he was one of them. But you also got to look at he had a top 5 car at St. Pete last year. In fact, he probably was on the podium if he didn't have some bad luck towards the end. And then he should have finished on the podium in Belle Isle, the second race that Pato Award won. And you look at he was also up front in the first Belle Isle before the field got flipped before the caution. He was probably going to win that race too. So I feel like his street course package is really good. We know he qualifies good. He's always a good qualifier. So he's going to be up front already, and you're getting him at 7-1 right now too. So I'd honestly say Herta, Pato, Power, Rossi are going to be Newgarden's biggest threats. But I also wouldn't put it past somebody like a Pelot or Dixon, because Pelot, that would be your fifth guy. Pelot's double the odds of Dixon. It sounds weird that I wouldn't say, oh, go all in on Scott Dixon for 5-1, but he has cooled off. He didn't look great in Belle Isle. His last 4 finishes on the season are 8th, 7th, 4th, 4th. Now, granted, those aren't bad results, but you look at what's around him between Herta and Pato.
Oh
and
yeah,
those
the
guys.
odds are better. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's only got 2 podiums this year, where he could get double the odds
Absolutely.
for Alex Pelot, who's currently the points leader. He's got 5 podiums in his last 6 starts on the season.
What's the deal with the constant disrespect with Pelot?
I don't get it. I don't know if maybe because they just feel like he's eventually going to tail off. But here's the kicker, where I also see this one where he admitted in Belle Isle, the first race, he was a little bit out to lunch. He's never raced there before, and everybody else has. Granted, the aero screen changed some setups, but they at least had some notes. He had nothing. And you look at what he did the second day. He finished third. He was on the podium. Well, here he is at a track that literally not a single driver has any experience on. So he's not behind. Yep. He doesn't. He's coming in the same as everybody else. He's literally the points leader, and you're getting him for 10-1. And I mentioned 5 podiums his last 6 finishes on the season, and one of those was a third on a street course. And you're giving him to me for double the odds of Scott Dixon. I'm probably going to fill him as my 5th driver to threaten Newgarden.
Yeah, Dixon has got to be set aside this weekend. It has to. Because you can't take everybody. So
no. Now, granted, I think it's because they're going off names. Dixon should probably be 10-1, and Pelot should probably be 5-1. They should probably flip them, and then I would be more intrigued to maybe go with Dixon this week. But the way they are, it's like, Pelot, for those stats, as I just mentioned, for 10-1, I'm going to take that over a Dixon that's 5-1. I think they're just going based off name right here.
Okay.
Yeah, because Dixon 10-1 would be a little more interesting. And let's see what happens after practice and qualifying. Maybe
Yeah,
he does fall to
that
10-1.
changes everything. What about
It does.
VK?
I don't know about him this weekend. Carpenter ECR has struggled on street courses. That's not been a secret. Yes, he's 11-1. Yes, this is a new racetrack, new to everybody. But I feel like your money for the guys around him, like Rossi's 14-1. I'd rather go with that than 11-1 VK. It's just I want to see where he stands after practice. He's a guy that I'm a wait and see type approach.
Okay.
Now, granted, can he come out and top 5 in practice?
Sure.
Both practice sessions and qualifying the Fast Six completely changed my mind. Yes. Then what do his odds go to? But for 11-1 right now, without knowing much about him, but I can get a Herd at 7-1, a Pelot at 10-1, a Ward at 8-1. I'd rather spend my money there right now.
If you had to choose between Ericsson, who won at Belle Isle, and Pagano, both are at 16-1, who would you go with?
Oddly enough, Ericsson right now. You got to look at his last 4 starts on the season, too. 1st, 9th, 6th, 2nd. He's getting hotter. He's 5th in points. I could mention Ganassi. He's a Ganassi driver. They've looked good this year. Pagano, meanwhile, in the same 4 races, he's 12th or worse in 3 of them, where Ericsson is 6th or better in 3 of them. So I would say right now, going to a track that nobody's got experience on, Ericsson, to me, stands out as the guy I would go with.
Okay. And taking a look at the playoff picture, again, we have 6 more races to go. As you mentioned, 3 off week, and then the final 3. And the final 3 out west, what is it, Oregon and 2 California?
Yep, Portland, and then Laguna Seca, which is Northern California, and then Long Beach, which would be Southern California.
Yeah, I'm not so sure I would like to go to Portland this time. It doesn't seem very safe.
No, there's a lot going on out there.
There's a lot going on.
It's and here's an intriguing factor by this. We didn't go to any of those 3 tracks last year. They were on the West Coast, and there was no travel out there. And these are the 3 races that are going to determine your championship. Yeah. And Alex Pelot is a second-year driver leading the points. So if you throw in this weekend, out of the final 6 races, 4 of them he's never raced at. So the futures for championship, which I haven't seen any yet, I need to actually look into that. One could say you might be able to get some good odds for somebody below him because, like I said, 4 of the last 6 he's not seen. We saw what he did at Belle Isle when he hadn't seen that race. He finished 11th. That opens the door. Pato Ward, similar situation. He's 2nd in points. Same way. He hasn't raced it. He's a second-year driver. Whereas Joseph Newgarden, he's 66 back. And we just talked about, like, he's led 84% of the laps the last 3 races. Started on the pole in all 3. Should have won all 3. He's 66 points back. Last year, he's 117 points back entering the final 6 races. He rattled off 5 top 4s, 4 of them the top 2, and nearly won the championship. And we look at the tracks coming up that could be good for him. I'm curious what his future for his championship could be because it might be someone you could cash in on right now.
Yeah, where have you normally seen the futures for the championship?
Usually DraftKings has done the better IndyCar
I haven't,
odds.
Yeah, I don't know when they
may not have him up right now, but I'd be curious what he.
Yeah, I'm there now, and I guess they don't have him up. They just have the race lines so far from what I can see.
Yeah, because right now you got to look with the 6 races. Nobody's been here. Next week you're back to Indy Road Course. They've all been there. They just raced there. Joseph won there last year. Dixon won there last year. Then you go to Gateway after that. Both Dixon and Joseph won at the 2 races last year. Joseph's the only multi-time winner there in the entire time they've been going to Gateway. And then you go to Portland, Laguna, Long Beach. And at that point, with Pelot not seeing any of those tracks before, other than a test,
I get that.
Do those guys close that gap? But it starts this week, and they almost got to be perfect because I don't think anybody outside of these 4 are going to win this championship. And the intriguing thing is, between Pelot and Award, they'd make history. Only 6 times in open wheel history has somebody won the championship that's been under the age of 27. Both of those guys are. Award would be the youngest champion ever. And they're trying to get by guys that have won the last 4 championships or hold those guys off. Newgarden and Dixon have combined to win the last 4 IndyCar championships. And these 2 are trying to pass these 2 younger guys in front of them. So it's going to be an intriguing. The trends say go with Newgarden or Dixon to win this title, but Pato and Palou have been good on the season too. So,
But
I think
definitely
this
we only have 4 true contenders.
that I would say that's it because Ericsson's fifth, but he's 104
Yeah.
points out. That is going to be a lot to make up in only 6 races on these 4 drivers. I mean, there's a reason Dixon's won 6 championships. He's not going away. Joseph's won 2.
So they're probably right
lately.
now, without looking at it, you would have to think Dixon and Newgarden are the top 2 odds. You would think.
I would think just.
I mean, they're
based
not
off
giving
the way
Palou any respect in these races every week. I can't imagine they're going to give him respect to win the championship.
No, which would make it more intriguing to bet on him because, yeah, I mean, in the championship, he's leading it and he's got the 6th best odds for this race for nobody's seen behind a Dixon and a Newgarden.
I would just do a Palou award kind of bet both of those guys against the grain because that's what kind of season it's been, and just roll your dice and see if you can come out with, because you're probably going to get pretty decent odds with if you bet both of those guys.
You probably would, and you got to look at too. Penske and Ganassi have won the last 8 championships, and right now, if you look at the top 6 in the points, they've got 5 of the 6.
Yeah.
Palou or Award's the outlier, and if you throw in Andretti Autosport, they've won 18 straight championships between Andretti, Penske, and Ganassi. The last was 2002, and you got the guy in second place who doesn't drive for either of those teams, only 39 points out. So. And he'd be the youngest champion ever. So the trends aren't on his side, which means I'm wondering when those odds do come out for championship futures, what is he going to be? Because he's had a hell of a season. I mean, it's not like he's – I use this word struggle loosely. I mean, his last 2 finishes were 9th and 8th, and they were saying he's struggling. I mean, that's top 10s in a series that's the toughest to compete.
As soon as you get the odds on the championship, you should definitely post a little bit of a story and then let everybody know who to take.
Definitely will. Absolutely.
Based on value. What's coming up? What do we got for the next 2 weeks?
We got Nashville this weekend, and we got Indy next weekend, which is the unique Xfinity and Cup and IndyCar.
That's where Sage Karam is.
That's where Sage is.
Okay, that's where you're going to be. Hopefully.
Baby. Hopefully. The only reason I won't be is if somebody gets sick or the baby is here, which is any day now. Hence why I'm not in Nashville, because that we're within days, and I hope so for my wife's sake and for selfishly, so I can go to a home game next week, because that's in my essentially backyard, and I don't want to be in a hospital next weekend. So we'll see.
And then and if you are at the track, you'll get an opportunity again, hopefully, to hook up with Sage. So we'll put that together again. That'll be cool, and I'm sure he's going to be really excited, especially if it's the day before the race, which is probably when you're going to be able to talk to him. So
exactly.
We'll see how that goes. And then after Indianapolis,
then it's St. Louis. They're out Gateway, and then that's a short oval. It's another. These 3 races are intriguing in a sense. This one's packed. Sold out. They've sold all 60,000 tickets. It's the hype, the pomp and circus. Everything around this event feels like the second coming of an Indy 500. We're back in Indy next week. That's always a big event, especially teaming with NASCAR. And then Gateway, Worldwide Technology Raceway, give their sponsor a plug, is, other than Nashville, has always felt like another Indy 500. It's a night race. They do it right. It's promoted well. It's always packed. It always just feels like a huge event. And that'll wrap up this 3-race string. So they've had a month off, but these 3 races are really going to propel IndyCar forward, I feel, just because of all the attention. They just signed that TV deal during the break. So there's a lot of momentum on their side. And, hey, look, they're looking now. We're going to have 27 to 28 at the very minimum full-time cars next year in this series. That's not even counting part-time. So they're already starting to rival NASCAR. And they're a lot less, they're a lot cheaper to some of these networks and sponsors, and which is intriguing, which is why they keep pouring in. So they're on the up and up, and these next 3 weeks are really going to put them on the up and up. I feel when the IndyCar race was in Road America, it just, all you kept hearing about was NASCAR in Nashville later, NASCAR in Nashville. And people are like, why do they keep promoting this? Well, I have a feeling on all the NASCAR shows at Watkins Glen this week, they're really going to promote this race. You're going to see a lot of talk with IndyCar and Nashville and the uniqueness of racing over a bridge. I think a lot of people are like, what? They
Are
race
there
on
going
a
to be any
bridge, and
lights,
that
or will the race be over by then?
it'll be over by
Okay.
then because they're Central Time Zone, so it's technically a 4:30 start there.
Okay.
It'll be plenty
What time
time
does the Watkins
over
Glen race start?
3
So
Eastern.
that's still starting
Um,
late in the day.
yeah, so Watkins Glen, they've got to hope for IndyCar that there's no delays up there. There's no rain delays. Granted, they can. I think they're bringing the rain tires, so NASCAR could, in theory, race in the rain. But we've seen what happened at Coda. So if it does rain and if it's a downpour, there'll be a delay. There's no lights there. What happens? Does it push IndyCar back? Because you got to feel NBCSN, NBC Sports wants this race on there, not CNBC. And NBC, I believe, has Olympic stuff. That's the closing ceremony. So. It'll be interesting what happens if weather, long red flag, something happens in Watkins Glen. What do they do to the IndyCar race? Because they got some time. I mean, it's Central Time Zone. I don't think the sunset's probably till after 8, so you've got a little bit of time if you need to push it back. But it also doesn't look good to the fans there sitting around waiting for a race to start because they don't care about Watkins Glen. They don't want to see their
Yeah.
race. So we'll see what happens. But if it all goes well, that's a great lead-in for TV ratings because NASCAR always gets a bunch of
Sure.
viewers. I mean, there's going to be over 1 million people watching Watkins Glen. How many of them keep tuned into the IndyCar race on NBCSN?
Okay.
My early prediction is this is going to be the highest rated IndyCar race outside, like on NBCSN. Granted, NBC,
Sure.
you always get over 1 million viewers there, but on cable, not on network TV, this will be their highest rated race I think ever on that network.
All right, Eric. Hope everything goes well with the new member of the family.
Thank you.
You
Appreciate
got it. And then, especially if it happens in the next couple of days, which is what we're
Yep.
hoping for.
Rooting for. Yep.
And then we'll see you at the track next week if all goes well.
Next week. Hopefully.
Yes. And then of course CJ and I will be back next week because we also will be talking about Indianapolis. So we'll be talking about the new road course race at Indianapolis for the NASCAR series. So that'll be on Wednesday's show. Eric and I will be back next week. Not sure when. We did the show on Friday because the odds did not come out for the inaugural race until today. So a lot's going to depend on Eric's schedule when we air the show, but we'll definitely be on at some point next week, and hopefully Eric will be on site. So Eric, appreciate it as always. And then of course you're going to have everything available at racereviewonline.net.
Yep. Everything will be there. The only thing that wouldn't be there is if the baby comes this weekend and my mind is elsewhere. If not, then yes, I'll have practice reports, qualifying reports, who the trends say is going to win, recaps, all that kind of stuff up this weekend as long as the baby's in there. But selfishly, I also want the baby to come out of there to finally meet my son or daughter. We don't know what it's going to be. We're going in blind on this, and also
are you going to put a mask on your daughter as soon as she comes out? Like as soon as she comes out, does the mask go on?
No, I don't know. I would hope not. So I don't know. I don't know what the hospital.
Yeah, I would hope not. I'd be
like, they don't have him for a baby.
Get that off of my kid.
Yes. Yeah. That kid needs to breathe. It doesn't know yet. So hopefully a safe birth. Everything goes well, and hopefully this weekend. If not this weekend, hopefully Monday.
Yes.
To buy me more time to be able to go out next weekend. So we'll see. It's kind of in limbo until this happens.
All right. Sounds good, Eric. We'll talk to you again. We'll check out everything on the website, and we'll talk to you next week. And again, more motorsports coverage continues on Wednesday with our Prime Sports NASCAR show with CJ Verdun from RotoWire.com. We'll see everybody next week.